Most of Hatamoto Yako are the lower-class samurai or people who work for samurai. Hatamoto is a group of samurai that protects the commander on the battlefield, and after the Sengoku period and during the Edo period, it refers to a person who served the shogun. Hatamoto Ako wore women's kimonos and unusual jackets sewn together from animal fur-like cloaks, and carried swords as they roamed the streets of Edo in groups, while intimidating the townspeople. Hatamoto Ako were often organized by the caretakers who carried the samurai's luggage and looked after their horses, rather than the samurai of the Hatamoto. This is because many of them had suffered abuse from their masters. Since there is a limit to how much one person can fight alone, servants exchange vows of brotherhood and called upon the caretakers to take revenge if they were treated inhumanly by their masters. Many Hatamoto were killed in revenge as a result of the attacks. It is said that the samurai families of Edo became fearful in battle and were less likely to treat their servants harshly. But in some cases, the samurai of prestigious Hatamoto became Hatamoto Ako. A classic example is Jirozaemon. He later caused a big incident with Machiako mentioned later. Machiako refers to young people and common people who lived in towns who were against Hatamoto Ako. As mentioned above, the main purpose of the Hatamoto Ako was to protect themselves against their masters, but their behavior changed to the point where they started out in strange ways, walked around town, intimidated people, and committed violence. Banzu Chabi is a representative of the townspeople and is considered one of the originators of the Kyokaku, original Yakuza, who stand up against powerful people and is different from the modern Yakuza. Like the Hatamoto Ako, Machi-Ako were based on the noble idea of self-defense for the weak, but gradually they began to behave like the Hatamoto Ako and became the hated people of the town. Both of them started out in the same way, armed with swords, formed gangs, walked the streets, and committed as much violence as possible, eating and drinking without paying, extorting, stealing, and repeatedly fighting with other groups. They are called Kabukimono.
Japan B provides information about Japan that is not well known.
Although many people despised the eccentrics, there were also those who viewed their appearance and behavior favorably as an expression of rebellion against social norms, authority, and order. They valued solidarity and loyalty among their comrades, and had a courage and aesthetic way of life that was willing to sacrifice their lives. The most famous Hatamoto Ako Jirozaemon was from a distinguished family of Hatamoto, director of the shogun's bloodline. He would strut about Edo dressed in strange clothes, committing all manner of evil and violence. He made friends with the most violent Hatamoto, including some powerful samurai. As Hatamoto, he was a powerful figure on the side of the shogunate's rulers, so no one could lay a hand on him, and his behavior escalated. This led to fierce conflict with Machi-Ako, who also competed with him in being the most dignified man. Banzu Chobai was the leader of the Machi-Ako and is said to be the originator of Yakuza. He was a kind and popular man, and under the pretense of protecting the townspeople from the violence and vandalism of the Hatamoto Ako, he organized a group of townspeople who called Machi-Ako chivalrous men, which led to conflicts with Jirozaemon. Originally, the two men had a relationship and would often drink together as friends. However, their relationship gradually became strained due to fights between subordinates and between Machi-Ako and Hatamoto Ako. Finally, Jirozaemon decided to kill Chobai and invited him to his mansion for serving him a bath tub. Chobai's servant told him that is a trap, so not to go. Even though he knows it's a trap, he heads off alone to enemy territory because he thinks it would set a bad example for his allies if he turns his back on them. When Chobai changed into a yukata and was about to enter the bathtub, Jirozaemon's servants attacked him. Unarmed, he could only fight back with a ladle from the bath and jujutsu, but Chobai Hanzoin was so strong he threw the servants away one by one. At that moment, Jirozaemon appeared with a spear in hand. He said, "We've arranged a drinking party tonight to let go of all our past mistakes, but it's extremely rude of you to defeat my servant with a sword fight," and stabs Chob to death, who was exhausted and unarmed. Jirozaemon was not charged with any crime due to his status as a flag bearer. In this case, after defeating their old enemy, Jerusalem and other Hatamoto-ako become more and more reckless in the town, and the Machi-ako, who lose their sense of ethics at the same time as they lose shubei, gradually turn into a street gang. Taking the situation seriously, the Edo shogunate sent in a super elite unit called Hitsutuzoku Ratamakata because they arrested anyone they thought was suspicious and mercilessly killed off those who resisted. There were many mistaken arrests, which made them the subject of some criticism. Ironically, like Kabukimono, they were also hated by the town. For this reason, it is said that among some people, eccentric people were supported as righteous bandits who opposed the shogunate. The first chief, Nakayama Kagyu, arrested many of Kabukimono, including Jerusalem, Hatamoto-ako, and Machi-ako, and more than 200 people were sentenced to seppuku or execution. Many samurai-ranked Hatamoto were subjected to seppuku, and townspeople were beheaded. After it became clear that they would be charged with a serious crime, large-scale groups of eccentrics, especially those from the samurai class, stopped appearing. In 1603, Izumao Kuni created the Kabuki dance, which incorporated the customs of Kabukimono, and it became a trend which later became the prototype for Kabuki. There is also a theory that Kabukimono people are one of the roots of the Yakuza. Kabukimono disappeared from the streets of Edo, but even in modern times, their aesthetic sense has been inherited in the performing arts of Kabuki, and their behavioral style has been passed down too. The scoundrels call Kyakaku Yakuza, who is moral. The latter no longer exists in modern times.